All right, so I was trying to figure out why this fantasy football preparation season felt a little bit off. And here's what the problem is. Too many good quarterbacks.
Disagree.
In the old days, whether you're in a 10 team league or a 12 team league or a 14 team league, there would be like the 6 to 8 guys you'd want, and then like the 4 to 5 guys you'd talk yourself into. But deep down, there was that fear of either I have no backup or I'm taking this guy, but holy shit, like if he starts out slow, I'm going to be completely panicking. Now I'm going to have to trade one of my best guys for a quarterback. There's just a shitload of quarterbacks now. You go through like even Jalen Hurts. It was like, Jalen Hurts. Who wants him in fantasy? Well, he 28 touchdowns, right? He ran for 8. He threw for almost 4,000 yards. And he's somebody, nobody would think he's like a tier 1 quarterback. It's just fucking loaded. Like just looking at the Ringer rankings.
Well, I mean, I have Jalen Hurts as a top 4 fantasy quarterback, and I named him yesterday as my fantasy football ride or die for the year. So I think Jalen Hurts has a monster.
Right, so there you go. You agree.
But I did. But
listen though, let me go through quarterbacks quick.
All right.
These are guys I would be totally happy if they were my starting quarterback on my fantasy team. Josh Allen.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson. These are Ringer rankings. I agree with all of them. Herbert, Mahomes. Kyler Murray, I'd be a little bit nervous, but look, whatever. Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Wilson, Brady, Dak, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins. I'm not shedding tears if Kirk Cousins is my starting fantasy quarterback. I think he's going to put up huge stats. Derek Carr. And then we move into the Trey Lance, keep your fingers crossed. That's 15 guys. So here's my question for you.
I like Trey Lance. Listen, I think Kirk Cousins, put him aside for a second because I agree with you. I think they're going to have I think people are sleeping on the Vikings offense, right? I mean, Kirk Cousins, I'll do my quick Kirk Cousins rant and then I'll address your quarterback position overall. My Kirk Cousins.
I never gave you my bomb.
Oh, what's your bomb? All right, go for your bomb.
Well, we didn't mention Trevor Lawrence, Winston.
Right. Yeah.
Tua's got a ton of receivers. I wouldn't want him on my team.
Sure.
Here's my point.
Yeah.
If you're in a 10-team league, this is something I've been adamantly opposed to.
Okay.
I'm willing to now consider it the 2 QB starters every week thing. I think it changes the league. I think it makes some of the high-end quarterbacks more valuable. And now it adds this drama to my draft or my auction. And as you know, real men are in auctions. Real fantasy people are in auctions. And all the losers are in the drafts and little booger eaters like my 14-year-old son. But you have the 2 QBs. There is now real drama in this draft. I do not want to end up with Daniel Jones or Baker Mayfield or Tua as my second quarterback. Everyone is on pins and needles the whole time. Those quarterbacks are coming, and it mirrors real life because quarterbacks in real life are the most important players of the football team. And in fantasy football, they're not.
So you were 1,000% right on this.
Thank you.
Totally agree. But what you're describing, just so you know, I don't think it's a bomb, but it may be a bomb for your league. But I completely agree with you there. So what you're describing is a super flex league. Forget 2 quarterback leagues. I think a super flex league. And so a super flex league, you get rid of defense, you get rid of kickers, you play 4 flexes. You play a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers or 3 wide receivers, whatever you want, a tight end, and then 4 flexes. And one of your 4 flexes can be a second quarterback. So what it does is it allows you, to your point, right? Now you're deciding between, or do I want this really good wide receiver, this number 3 or 4 wide receiver, or Baker Mayfield, right? If you get stuck there, so super flex. And honestly, I argued for 2 years, maybe they'll do it now that I'm gone. I argued for 2 years at ESPN, make super flex the default fantasy game.
Oh, interesting.
When you sign up for ESPN, honestly, or any platform, there's a default game. Like if you don't change any of your settings, there's a default game. And at ESPN, the current default game is whatever. Quarterback, 2 wide receivers, 10-team league that's quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end, flex, kicker, and a defense, whatever, 6, 7 benches, 7 bench. And so I was just like, I had the exact same thing. It's boring. Fantasy football is broken. You're 100% right, which is if you did a real NFL draft, if every NFL team had to throw their players back and you did an actual NFL draft, Josh Allen, Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, those are the guys that's the first round. And yet, in a smart fantasy league, Mahomes goes in the 4th or 5th round.
Right. He's like the 50th guy drafted.
Right. Exactly. When you're sitting there trying to decide between, Patrick Mahomes or Chase Edmonds, what are we doing here? Right. So it does not reflect. Fantasy football.
There's one other piece.
Yeah.
There's one other piece of this. So in the running back, receiver, and tight end positions, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel on the roster, right? We're taking like the 70th receiver in the league is on somebody's fantasy team. And you're grabbing guys on free agency, and it's just they could be the 4th, 5th receiver on a mediocre offense, and they're in a fantasy league. And yet 10 of the starting quarterbacks out of the 32 are not even on anyone's team. And that, again, is the most important position in the league.
Bill,
so what are we doing?
Bill, to your point, sorry to interrupt you, but I was going to say, to your point, last year, Kirk Cousins, who was making over $30 million from the Vikings, was on waiver wires for much of the season until people figured out, oh yeah, Kirk Cousins actually pretty good.
Then on the foot, and the other piece of this is, if you increase the penalties, so interceptions are -2, pick sixes are -6. Now we have volatility where it's like, fuck, I got to start Daniel Jones this week. He's my second QB. And then he's like throwing a pick 6 in the first quarter. You're like, oh my God, Daniel Jones is good. Now you get to feel what it in real life it would be like to root for Daniel Jones.
Yes.
Now fantasy is morphing into real life.
100%. I think Superflex is the way to go. In
Superflex.
Superflex. People have been clamoring this for a while. So I don't think it's the bomb you think it is. But I will say I'm fully supportive of that idea. I do think I don't think kickers and defense, much as I like them, to me, Superflex is by far the most fun way to play. And
I still like. Can I just do two starting QBs?
There's a ton of 2 QB leagues. You can definitely do that. You can absolutely do that.
Like would Davis Mills start in a? He probably would, right? With some of the bye weeks. Now you're really scraping it.
In a 2 QB league, every quarterback has value. In a 2 quarterback league, like I'm in a deep dynasty league. It's a Superflex league. At 12 teams, 33-man roster, so it goes super deep. Danny Kelly, Ringer Fantasy Football Show. Danny Kelly.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, of course. So Danny Kelly's in the league with me, and he would tell you too. We had waivers this morning, the first waivers since the NFL draft. Jacoby Brissett was out there. There was a bidding war over Jacoby Brissett.
Oh my God!
He's going to start 11 games, and he has value in a league that deep where you start 2 quarterbacks. So yeah, that's the exciting part of it. That's the fun part of a 2 quarterback league or a Superflex league. I prefer Superflex to 2 QB league because I think, to your point, it gets really mix and matchy. Like, do you want this really crappy second quarterback on a bye week, or do you want you picked up a running back that's going to Devontae Freeman, who's going to be the starter that week for Baltimore, that kind of thing,
and guaranteed 8 points versus like the volatility of a shitty quarterback.
Correct.